All right, guys, so we've been talking about spray guns, pieces and parts and different kind of spray guns and how similar they are, but yet how different they are. So what I'm gonna do for you guys today is I'm gonna tear one of them apart. Actually, I'm gonna tear two of them apart. I'm gonna tear an airbrush apart, and I'm gonna tear one of these apart, and we're gonna label the ones. Okay, a lot of times when you buy an airbrush or buy a paint gun, okay, a spray gun, they'll come with something called a spray gun wrench. Okay, so it's kind of, should have all the sizes you need for a spray gun. And if not, you can use the proper wrench or socket, you know, on whatever you're using. Now, when it comes to an airbrush, like this is an airbrush, okay? When it comes to one of these, you know, you might just need a pair of pliers or something smaller like that. So again, I'm not really gonna rip all these apart. I'm just gonna take some, show you some basic components of what these are. And you might also need a tiny little screwdriver just to, you know, get some little E-clips or some clips here and there. Okay, so we're gonna get started. I'm actually gonna zoom the camera down. I'm gonna move these out of the way in a second, but just kind of show you these are gravity feed spray guns. They're all HVLP, which is high volume, low pressure. You know, this is actually a gravity fed airbrush. Okay, this is not HVLP because honestly it doesn't matter for as much paint as they don't put out. It doesn't matter. So this is a gravity feed, and there are siphon feed paint guns, but again, they're kind of obsolete because of transfer efficiency and whatnot. But this is a siphon feed airbrush. Okay, so the couple's on the bottom, and just to show you, just like we were talking about, you know, it's a straw. Okay, so the straw goes inside and the paint's in the bottom, and air blows across this tip, and it creates a negative pressure and it sucks the paint up through and out. Okay, so again, that's just, there's different kinds of spray guns. This is a siphon feed. This is a gravity feed. Ideally, these ones, gravity feed anything uses less paint. With an airbrush, you can only put a couple. You can put a couple drops in here, a couple drops in this. But again, you know, I can switch out colors on this too. So we're gonna get talking about these. And so, like I said before, they're all very similar. You know, as far as their internal workings, this is a touch-up gun. You know, it's a lot smaller than a standard gun, standard spray gun, HVLP spray gun. This one's for doing small little airs, little touch-up work, and yes, I have actually airbrushed with these. You make the fan adjustment really small on these as well. Okay, so in a second we're going to tear this one apart here, but I just wanted to show you some of these guns. They're all similar, you know, in makeup on the inside. Okay, so I'm actually going to move the camera down so you can kind of see. I'm going to move these aside, and we're going to begin to start tearing the spray gun apart. So let's move these out of the way. I'm going to tear this gun apart right here. Okay guys, so I got some things labeled out here to kind of show you, just kind of breaking this gun down a little bit on what we're going to do. So we're going to keep it very simple. Okay, some of this, on this particular gun, it's a SATA Jet 3000. I can't take certain things off. You know, you know, this gun's the same way. This is a SATA also. This is a DeVilbiss, and I'll just kind of point some things out on that. So taking this gun apart, okay, first and foremost, we're going to start with the air cap. So this is your air cap right here. Okay, I'm going to take it. You can see the holes, different kind of air caps. They're all a little different on the end, but that's your air cap. Okay, now before you start stripping anything else out, we're going to take it out. Now remember, everything in line here, from here to the end, deals with fluid. So they're all going to have fluid in their name. So we're going to take this part off right here. Okay, this little adjustment screw. Okay, it's a fluid control knob. Okay, again, it's here, it's in line here. And now we're going to take this out right here. So you just kind of pull back. This little job here is called the fluid needle. I'm going to set that right there, fluid needle. Okay, now that's pretty, again, these guns are super easy to rip apart. It only takes minutes. Okay, I'm going to take my wrench here. Everything else I can get by hand. As you can see, the end here, I can either use a wrench or a spray gun wrench, which is here. Find the right size that fits. Unscrew it. Okay, and hopefully you can guess what this is called. Okay, so I took that out, and the reason I took the needle out before this is I didn't want to damage the needle. So again, this is in line with everything here. So this is the fluid tip. Okay, So there's your basic makeup parts of it. Now one of the things I can't take off of this gun, I could just take the knob off. On this particular gun, on this SATA, this is to adjust the fan pattern. So it makes the fan big or small. So big or small, depending on how you adjust it. Okay, this one I can't take off. On this spray gun, it's the top one here. Remember, everything in here deals with fluid. The top one here, this deals with your fan pattern. I can take this one out. Okay, you unscrew the knob, it opens up, you screw it in, it makes it closes it up. Okay, so I'm gonna take this off here on this trigger for this gun. Okay, because the air inlet comes in here, runs up through here, then you have a valve right here. This is an air valve back here, and you're gonna see a little bit more in a second. Okay, adjust that camera a little bit better. Okay, so I'm gonna take this off, and there's these little tiny E-clips on here. Okay, little tiny E-clips. Okay, this is where you might need a screwdriver, get in here. You kind of pop this off, nice and easy. Just to show you what this E-clip looks like. Looks like a tiny little E, okay? So I'm gonna put that there with the trigger. And all you gotta do is slide this little pin out. That deals with the trigger. Okay, and then there's another E-clip right here. Okay, again, a little screwdriver to kind of slide it out real nice and easy. Be careful sliding out because you do not want to shoot this across the floor because it will be kind of hard to take out. And I'm just going to stick that there because that goes to the trigger. Slide this pin out. Okay. Here's your trigger. Okay, now this, inside of here, the needle actually goes through that. When you depress the trigger, it actually pulls it back. Okay, pulls the needle back. Okay. And there's supposed to be a spring with this, but this gun has been taken apart multiple times. Does not have the spring in it anymore. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of much it. You know, like I said, you know, these things, very simple, very basic. Okay, just to have this, you got your trigger, you got your gun body, your fluid needle, your fluid control knob. This I'm gonna put with the trigger. Okay, you got your fluid tip. You got your fluid tip right here, and you got your air cap. Very simple, basic. I'm not going to get into taking this out right in here because that is the air valve. You know, allows the air to come up through the gun. Okay. So in a sense, there you go. Okay, so now just to show you something else, and I'm going to take this one apart. This is a gravity fed airbrush. And just to show you on this, how similar, you got your cap, you got your lid. Okay, this little end right here that I'm taking off. Let me get a little bit closer to this. This little end right here, I'm taking off right now. That's your air cap. Okay, so that's gonna go right there. Okay, and really, really close. It's gonna be hard to see. Let me try to get in a camera there. Right here is your fluid needle. Okay, now what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take, or the fluid cap, not the fluid needle. I'm gonna take this out. This right here is my fluid needle for the airbrush. Okay, and just to show you the size difference between the two. Okay, so again, you know, when we're talking water droplet sizes, okay, this is like a 1.3. All this is a 1.3 as far as the hole goes on the end. Okay, you can see the end of the needle. Hopefully you can see the ends of the needle. Very small. Okay, very, very small for the airbrush. Okay, I know you're not gonna be able to see this, but this air tip, or this fluid tip on here, I'm gonna get close to the camera. It is very hard to see, but that's probably about a 0.5 tip. Okay, fluid tip on there. So the water droplet's gonna be super tiny. As to something like this, the center orifice in here is probably more like a 1.3. Okay, tiny droplets. Okay, so we got the air cap, and I'm not going to take the little fluid needle off, or the fluid cap off here, because I don't want to lose it. Okay, your trigger on an airbrush is right here. Just like these guns, they're dual action. You pull it halfway back, pull this halfway back on the spray gun is air, all the way back is paint. Here, you press the trigger, air, pull back for paint. Okay, so in reality, no matter what the size of the gun is, let's put this down here. No matter what size the gun is, they're all pretty much made up the same. Okay, and as far as putting it together, again, this is very, very sharp, by the way. Probably end up stabbing yourself 100 times. I'm gonna put that in, tighten that up, take my air cap, put my air cap over top. Okay, and then I'm gonna put my cover over this needle back here. Okay, that's done. Now we're gonna put this together. Okay, so hopefully we can get a good view of it here. Okay, so we're gonna put this together, and hopefully you can name some of the parts that we're gonna grab, okay? So, what part's this called? Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna put on here is gonna be, what is this called? Okay, so I'm gonna put this, just to show you, I'm gonna slide it in here. Remember, when you're taking things apart, make sure you set it organized, and remember what comes off and what doesn't. So that goes over there. Okay, so slide this in, the hole. Make sure it comes to the other side. Then you're gonna get your little E-clip. Okay, that little E-clip right there. And you're gonna try to slide it on. Now, sometimes you might be able to get it if you have fingernails. I don't have fingernails, so I'm gonna use the flat end of my screwdriver. And I'm gonna hold on to it very carefully, slide it right in. Okay, I slid it right in. Now I need to put the pin up in there. Okay, slide that in the hole. Get your little E-clip. I usually just set it in place where I need it. Take my tiny screwdriver, slide it in place. Okay, so I got the trigger on now. Okay, now I'm gonna grab this part. What is this called? Okay. I'm gonna put that, I'm gonna screw that in. Now sometimes on here, depending on your spray gun, you might have a rubber gasket or something in here to seal everything up, okay? But the air blows through there, and it blows through all these holes in the backside. So I'm gonna put this in. Okay, I'm gonna get my wrench, my spray gun wrench. I'm gonna tighten it up. Now I'm not making it super tight. Snug is all you need, because you don't want to make it too tight and mess anything up. Okay, so now that I got that put together, now this is the order you want to put it together in, you know, and kind of take it apart in the same order. You know, last thing out, first thing back in. Now I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put this in next. What's this called? Okay, so I'm gonna take that. Now the one thing is in here, there was that one thing that the needle got pushed back. You have to make sure there's a hole in there it's got to slide into. It's really kind of hard to see. Slide in there and you push it all the way in. Now ideally there's a spring that's supposed to go over top of that. So when you push the trigger, it goes back and forth, okay? So the spring ideally would be in here. Again, this one's been taken apart enough and it doesn't go in. So I'm now going to put this part in. Can you tell me what this part's name? Okay, so I'm going to put this in. Run that in. And the reason you put this part in before the fluid needle, before you put the fluid cap in, before the needle, because you don't want to mess up your needle, your fluid needle. Okay, now I'm going to take this part. What's this part called? Okay, I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it on. Now ideally, you want to have the horns on this air cap going straight across, so your pattern is going to be this way. If you're spraying, this is for spraying left to right. If you want to spray up and down, you're going to want to turn it that way. So it's going to take your fan pattern to do this, so you can spray up and down. You turn it this way, the fan pattern goes this way. Okay? And again, you want to tighten that up, you know, but you don't want to go super tight with it. And that's pretty much it on tearing a spray gun apart and some basic parts of a spray gun.